25. We are pedaling, leaning forward, front. Oh, God. But yeah, we're cruising around on this stuff. No problem at all. Very grippy. Go. I kind of feel like, you know, Tom Cruise right now in Top Gun, you know, na 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 na. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Tom's Gadget Garage. Today I am out here with the Hovsco HovGTRS Moped style e-bike. And as of the filming of this video, this bad boy is priced at under $1,000. So what I'm looking to figure out is how much performance do you really get out of a sub-$1,000 moped style e-bike, whether or not it is fun to cruise around on, and ultimately whether it's worth that sub-$1,000 price tag. Now, full disclosure, Hovsco did send this to me for review purposes, but as always, all thoughts, opinions, and conclusions are my own. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is take this out on a first impressions ride, and we'll see if this is worth your hard-earned cash. All right, folks, so the first thing to call out about this bike is that it does run off of a 48-volt system. It's got a 750 nominal watt geared hub motor, which is capable of cranking out 1,500 watts of peak power, as well as up to 90 Newton meters of torque. So pretty decent specs for a bike priced under $1,000. Now I'm going to go ahead and start our ride off pedaling this bike with zero assistance. So this bike does come with a Shimano Tourney derailleur as well as 7 speeds. And then of course you've got the typical gear shift on the right hand side of the handlebars. So we're going to go ahead and see what this bike is like to pedal with zero assistance. So right now I am cruising around. Keep in mind this bike does not have an adjustable seat. It's got this really long and I should say very comfortable saddle, which, you know, feels very nice. And so right now I am pedaling at about 8 miles an hour very comfortably. Let me go ahead and drop it down into gear 4. And yes, this is a very comfortable ride. 9-10 miles an hour, not a problem at all. Now there are a lot of moped style e-bikes that are starting to get rid of the gearing and opt instead for a single gear, because typically these moped style e-bikes are designed to be ridden with throttle. However, this bike has got 7 gears, and so if you do end up running out of juice, this bike is very easy to pedal at about 9-10 miles an hour, which to be honest with you is pretty decent given that this is a 77-pound bike. I'm going to go ahead and put us into pedal assist 1. This bike does have 5 levels of pedal assist, and I do have it unlocked to class 3 mode, which will give us, you know, the full potential of this bike. And I'll show you a little bit later on in the film how to actually unlock this so that you can take advantage of the full power. So right now we're in pedal assist 1, and I'm going to use throttle to get us going. And it gets moving pretty quickly, and that's going to cap us at about 8-9 miles an hour. If I go into pedal assist 2, we're going to get a little bit more speed. Looks like around 11 miles an hour. Pedal assist 3, it's going to get us going a little bit quicker. Looks like it caps us at about 15-16 miles an hour. Pedal assist 4 is going to allow us to go even faster. Looks like that's capping us at about 18 miles an hour. And then of course, pedal assist 5 should get us theoretically up to the 32 miles an hour, which of course we'll be doing a top speed and acceleration test later in the video. But just for fun, I went ahead and put us into pedal assist 5, and let's take a look at what the pickup on this bike looks like. So 20 on the screen, 22, 25, 27, 28, 29, all right. We're running out of road, but a little bit later on in the video, like I said, we'll do that top speed and acceleration test just so that you can get a feel for the performance of this bike. So as I was mentioning, this bike does have 7 gears. It's got a 48-tooth chainring, which so far looks to be very ideal for pedaling this bike, especially at lower speeds. What I'm gonna go ahead and do is in pedal assist 5 here, I'm gonna see what it's like to pedal this up to higher speeds, see how things feel. All right, so go ahead and get into a higher gear. We're in gear 7. I'm pedaling. My knees are going up really high because once again, this does not have adjustable seat height. So it's a little bit awkward, but we are cruising around. Yeah, I mean, you can pedal, but I'll tell you right now, there's gonna be some ghost pedaling involved here. I'm kind of giving it my all, high cadence. You know, at this rate, there's no ghost pedaling, but your cadence is going to be pretty insane. And so it looks like with that, you can get up to 26, 27 miles an hour, at least on the display. So, like I said, moped-style e-bike, not the most ideal bike to pedal, especially at higher speeds, just because of the geometry of the bike. But if you want to do it, you can absolutely do so. Now, this is my first impressions ride, but I'm going to be honest with you, I've got almost 50 miles on this bike at the moment, because when I unboxed this and took it out on a little ride just to make sure everything's working before I went out on vacation, I couldn't stop riding the bike. So for multiple days in a row, I was cruising around on it because it really is a fun bike. Now, one thing to mention is it is a smaller bike. It does have a relatively short wheelbase, which I think adds to the fun factor of this thing. Now, I don't know about where you live, but where I live, there are tons of kids and adults riding around on these moped-style e-bikes, and I'm happy to say this is the first one I'm actually featuring on the channel, and I can definitely understand the appeal of a bike like this. It's very fun. Normally, I review, bikes that are designed to be pedaled, traditional e-bikes, not moped-style e-bikes, but I'm finally kind of diving into this segment, and I can see why people enjoy these things. It's definitely a different riding experience. I kind of feel like, Tom Cruise right now in Top Gun, na 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 na. Obviously not a cool motorcycle like he had, but still pretty awesome in its own respect. One of the cool things about this bike is that it does handle very well. It's not the heaviest moped-style e-bike. It's actually relatively light at about 77 pounds, but it feels solid coming into turns. It almost kind of gives you the impression that you're driving a bigger, heavier bike, but that's not the case here. This thing is relatively lightweight, but coming into those turns, it definitely has a solid feel to it. And part of that has to do with the fact that this bike has 20-inch by 4-inch fat tires with a knobby tread to them. So you'll be able to ride this both on and off the beaten path, but having those 4-inch wide tires means you've got a really good contact patch with the ground. And they do have that nice rounded profile, so coming into turns like this is very comfortable. All right, so what I'm gonna go ahead and do is cruise on through here, and we're gonna head on to the little bike trail over here. And that'll take us over to the dog park, which has got some hills, where we'll be able to test out the hill climbability of this Hovsco HovGTRS. All right, so coming in through here, this bike does come equipped with hydraulic brakes. They're core ride hydraulic brakes with 180 millimeter rotors, both up front and in the rear. And I'm really impressed because, bikes at this price point don't often have hydraulic brakes. They're usually cable actuated brakes, which I have no knock on those types of brakes. They definitely get the job done in most cases, but with hydraulic brakes, you're gonna get significantly more stopping power with less effort. But we're gonna go ahead and put those brakes to the test here in a moment. So right now we're cruising off the beaten path on some hard packed dirt as well as gravel. And so far it's handling this very well. And we can attribute that to the wide 4-inch tires with that knobby tread. Now this bike does have a full suspension. It's got a front fork coil spring suspension that doesn't have any kind of adjustability, so you can't lock it out, you can't adjust preload or rebound or anything like that, so it's pretty basic, which is to be expected with a bike at this price point. But they also have a rear coil spring suspension, which will help kind of dampen some of the lumps and bumps in the road. And so one thing to note though about that rear coil is that it is rated at 1,250 pounds, which so far has been really stiff. It's not a plush ride in the rear, but I've been having a lot of fun on this bike. I actually ordered a couple different replacement shocks to see how, a $74 shock or a $138 shock will do in the rear. So stay tuned. I'm going to be doing that upgrade video here in the very near future. All right, so this thing rides really well on hard packed dirt. I'm going to go ahead and transition over to this gravel here. Cruising around on this, no problem at all, plenty of power. You can definitely feel the suspension going to work. That rear coil spring, you're gonna feel it more when you're going over more aggressive stuff at higher speeds, but at lower speeds, kind of, light lumps and bumps, you can feel it move, but it's not a whole lot of travel there. Front fork is doing a pretty decent job of absorbing a lot of this. Keep in mind with these front fork suspensions, they usually have a little bit of a break-in period. And so You know, if you get it out of the box, feels a little stiff, just rack up some miles. They do kind of loosen up over time. But yeah, we're cruising around on this stuff. No problem at all, very grippy. Now in terms of the battery on this bike, it does come equipped with a 48 volt 15 amp hour battery, which is good for 720 watt hours of capacity. Now Hovsco does say that should be good for 65 miles, but you folks, I mean, that is a very, very generous theoretical figure at 65 miles. In the instruction manual, they say, you know, average riding around, you can expect about 25 miles of range. And to be honest with you, that's what I've been getting on some of my rides, anywhere from 22 to 25 miles. All right, folks, so if you're curious what the braking power looks like on this bike, I'm gonna go ahead and do a brake test. So we'll get up to about 20 miles an hour, and then we'll go ahead and slam on those brakes and see what the stopping power looks like on this bad boy. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and test out the brakes on this bike in 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, absolutely solid stopping power. We did fishtail a little bit there, which we can probably attribute to the shorter wheelbase, but no problem at all whatsoever getting to a stop on this bike. And for that, we can thank these hydraulic brakes and 180 millimeter rotors. Seems like these things are a very good combination for this bike. And just for fun, we're gonna go ahead and do that one more time in 3, 2, 1, go. Oh yeah, very good brakes on this bike. All right, folks, so as you can see, stopping power on this bike is fantastic. One thing I am noticing is that this bike in this super hot weather, it's supposed to be like 102 degrees Fahrenheit today, not too crazy, but I am hearing a squeak in the bike coming from the front fork. They do have different kind of support structures on the front fork that use kind of thinner metal. And so I think there's some rubbing going on there, so I'll lube that up and see if I can eliminate that squeak. It's one thing with e-bikes, you just want to always make sure that everything is well lubricated so you have a nice smooth operating machine. All right, so what we're doing right now is heading over to a dog park area, which will give us an opportunity to go climb some hills, the steepest of which is about 22% grade. Now the place that we're going to be doing this test in is undergoing lots and lots of renovations, so there are pretty much no one here today. But they've got some really nice grassy embankments here, which will give us a good opportunity to test out the hill climbability of this Hovsco HovGTRS. All right, we're gonna go ahead and swing on through here, give us a good opportunity to test out this bike on some of these nice smooth curves, and as I mentioned earlier, handles that very well. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and hop on the grass, see what this bike feels like. Yeah, it's doing a decent job of absorbing a lot of this, and keep in mind that these tires also have a shock absorbing function to them. They're 20-inch by 4-inch fat tires, so they absorb stuff as well. All right, so we're on the grass. We're heading straight ahead. Between the two trees is a 22% grade, which I've measured and tested multiple times on other devices. Here we go, throttle all the way in. We're pushing through half battery. Are we gonna make it? Yes, in fact, we are gonna make it. All right, 22% grade at about 50, 60% battery. We were able to do it. So, pretty awesome, especially out of a 48 volt system. I'm gonna go ahead and try out another embankment here. I don't know the measurement on this. It's not as steep, but it is shorter in distance. So I'm gonna see if we can make it up this. All right, and throttle in, coming up. Motor is putting in some work, and we did it. Let's see if we can do it from a near stop. But here we go, throttle all the way in. Oh, from a near stop, no, we're not gonna make it on that one. So if we had a full battery, we might get better performance out of it. But we've been doing speed runs and all kinds of stuff on this bike, so full battery, probably get a little bit better performance. But can it do a 22% grade while moving? Absolutely. I'm gonna go ahead and cruise on over here, back onto the grass. Another little hilly area here, and boom, we're making our way right up. And this is pedal assist 5. and I'm putting zero effort into it. Now, if you are going to be going on, you know, particularly steep hills, you do have the option to pedal the bike, okay? So I'm going to loop back around and we're going to do exactly that, see if we can make it up that steep section there using pedal assist. Maybe that'll give us the edge we need to make it up. I'm going to go ahead and make sure we are in the correct gear ahead of time. I'll put us in, we'll see how gear 3 does. It's got a 48 tooth chain ring, 7 gears to choose from, so when the going gets tough, you don't have to just rely on electrical power. You can put some mechanical power into there yourself. All right, so here we go. From a near stop, pedal assist 5. Let's go ahead and pedal up this thing. Whoa, whoa, front wheel came up off the ground. Oh, that's what we get. Short wheelbase, so you definitely want to make sure that you are leaning forward when you attempt something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and try that again here. And I'm going to go ahead and move us into gear 2. All right, here we go. Gear 2. Let's see if we can make it up. 3, 2, 1, go. We are pedaling, leaning forward, front. Oh, God. Oh, my gosh. You definitely want to lean your weight forward going on something like that. We're going to try that one more time in hopefully a less embarrassing fashion. All right. Okay. One more time. 3, 2, 1, go. Lean forward, lean forward. Okay. All right. That's much easier. We made it up. Short wheelbase bike. If you're pedaling and leveraging that motor, you're going to be getting a lot of torque, which should get that front end to lift up on you there. So even though it's a 48 volt system, don't sleep on it. It's got a pretty decent amount of power for this price range. So as you can see, we did a variety of hills here. This bike will be able to tackle some especially steep stuff with electric power only. But if the going gets tough, you've always got these pedals, and you happen to have 7 gears, not just a single gear that you see on a lot of newer, higher power moped style e-bikes. Now in terms of comfort on this bike, it does have these rubber grips. They are not locking, so in especially hot conditions, if you're gripping onto these for dear life, they do have a tendency to twist, but you really gotta get them going. Now if they do, you know, eventually twist off with these kind of grips, you can always spray some hairspray in there, put them back in, and you are good as new. But yeah, your grips so far are very comfortable. It's like this rubber silicone material. Very happy with that, no complaints. Throttle here is on the left side. Keep that in mind, folks. It's not a twist throttle. It is a left-handed, I should say left-mounted thumb throttle. Does take some getting used to. Now taking a little bit of a break here. This battery here is removable. Now keep in mind, Hovsco just announced a larger battery, 25 amp hour battery. So if you do want more battery capacity, more range, you can absolutely do it with their 25 amp hour version. This is the 15 amp hour version, which is the only one they had, you know, when they reached out, but it looks like they released a bigger battery variant. But this battery is removable. All you have to do is insert this key, you can unlock it, and then you can just pop this right out. Another thing that I like about this battery is the fact that there is a power indicator here, so you can click on that. Looks like it's got 3 out of 4 battery bars remaining, which is in addition to what you get on the screen. You know, the screen will show you your battery level, your level of pedal assist, your speed, your trip. If you hit this little power button here once real quick, it'll show you your odometer, which we got 56 miles on here. We've also got this beautiful front headlight here, which is going to do a good job of illuminating the path ahead if you're going to be riding around at night. And then of course, at the rear of the bike, we do have our tail light and brake light combo. So when you actually pull on the brake levers, this will start flashing to help get people's attention. And then of course you do have turn signals, which I'll tell you right now, they're not the brightest things for daylight riding, but at nighttime they should be plenty visible. And if you're curious how these turn signals work, you actually have your plus and minus buttons, which also double as your turn signals. So if you double click on this, it'll do your right hand turn signal. If you double click on this, it'll do your left hand turn signal, and then that'll turn off for you here. So really nice setup on this bike. One thing I will say though is the downside of having this turn signal as a kind of combo with the plus and minus for pedal assist is that you can't, you know, increase your level of pedal assist very fast, because it'll register it as a double click. So when you're going pedal assist, you know, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're going to want to slowly do that. You don't want to rapidly press it, because you will engage those turn signals. So something else I want to mention about this screen is it does not have a voltage readout. It just has battery bars. So you're going to be fully reliant on those 5 battery bars to gauge how much distance or range you have remaining. Now keep in mind, I've been getting anywhere from 20 to 25 miles of real world range as a 200-pound rider. So just keep that in mind as a frame of reference. Another thing to mention about this bike is it does have these fenders both in the rear and the front, and they provide really good coverage for the bike. So if you are going to be riding around in, you know, gravel, dirt, wet conditions, that'll help keep all of that stuff off of you. Now, speaking of wet conditions, this bike does have an IPX5 water resistance rating, which means it can withstand low pressure water jets. With that being said, I don't recommend riding in torrential downpours or anything like that, but if you are caught in a situation where you got some light rain, you should be more than fine with this bike. Another thing to mention here is that you do have your charge port as well as a power switch, which is very nice. You can actually power down this battery using that switch, and the charger that comes with this bike is 3 amps, which is above and beyond the 2 that we typically see with most bikes. That means your charge time is going to be just about 5 hours from completely empty to a full charge. And I did mention some squeakiness earlier. As you can see, kind of the structure of this front fork here uses some of these thin metal plates, which do have a tendency to squeak a little bit. So I'm going to get some lube up in this area to see if we can eliminate that. And lastly, before we continue our ride here, we do have a headlight. You can turn that on. That'll turn your headlight and tail light on. You don't have a horn on this bike, so if you do need to get people's attention, there is no horn, there is no bell, which is really unfortunate. So you might want to pick one of those up aftermarket. That way you can use that to get people's attention. All right, folks, now if you're curious what the top speed and acceleration look like on this bike, I'm going to go ahead and play a clip of that test right now. All right, folks, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is a top speed and acceleration test. I do have this bike unlocked to Class 3 mode, which, according to Hovsco, should be able to get this bike up to 32 miles an hour, but we'll absolutely be putting that to the test. And for today's runs, I will be using the Draggy GPS Performance Monitor, which will give us a nice, accurate, and consistent way to track these runs. All right, so getting started with run 1 in 3, 2, 1, go. 10 miles an hour, 15, 20 on the screen, 25, 26, 27, 28. All right, we're gonna go ahead and call it there. All right, folks, so for that run, 0 to 10, 2.55 seconds, 0 to 15, 5.05 seconds, 0 to 20, 8.97 seconds, 0 to 25, 15.76 seconds, and we hit a top speed of 27 miles an hour in 21.57 seconds. All right, we're gonna go ahead and do round 2 in 3, 2, 1, go. $15, 20 on the screen, 25, 27, 28, all right, we're going to go ahead and call it there. So for that particular run, 0 to 10, 2.71 seconds, 0 to 15, 5.19 seconds, 0 to 20, 8.89 seconds, 0 to 25, 15.04 seconds, and we hit a top speed of 27 miles an hour in 19.89 seconds. So it looks like with me weighing in at 200 pounds, we're able to get 27 miles an hour on this Hovsco HovGTRS. So this bike does come out of the box as a Class 2 e-bike with its speed restricted to 28 miles an hour. However, you do have the ability to unlock it to Class 3 mode, which will unlock it to the full 32 miles an hour that Hovsco claims. First, you can come into the app for this bike, and yes, this is an app-enabled bike, but it is not required for the operation of the bike. But once you install the app and sign up, you can click e-bike classes, and then it'll give you the option to unlock to Class 3, and you can do that from here. Now, if you don't want to use an app and you just want to use the bike to unlock it to Class 3, you can do that by holding the brake lever and then pushing and holding these 3 buttons, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to push and hold. You'll see the screen come on. You'll see a blinking light there at the top. Then you hold the plus and minus button simultaneously. And then you're going to hit the headlight button to get to P3. And you're going to hit the plus button to change that to 1. That's going to unlock this to Class 3 e-bike mode. So it's going to stop blinking. Now it's saved. We're going to go ahead and power off the bike. Power it back on again. And we are officially in Class 3 mode. If I go back into the app and click e-bike classes, you'll see I'm officially in Class 3. So as you can see on this particular bike, with me weighing in at 200 pounds, a little over with gear, I was able to hit 27 miles an hour on this bike. So not able to hit the 32 that Hovsco claims. You know, maybe in downhill scenarios you'd be able to do that, but completely flat ground with someone my weight, 27 miles an hour, seems like the top speed for this bike. Now, would it be nice if this bike could hit 32 miles an hour? Absolutely, that would be cool. Maybe later on down the line we'll do more tests on a full charge, maybe on a slight decline, but on completely flat ground, I was able to hit 27 miles an hour. And I'll tell you what, riding around at these speeds, you know, 27 miles an hour or so, very comfortable, very confidence-inspiring ride, no wobbles, jitters, or anything like that. So very easy to control. Now, I will say that when I was looking for shocks, I did email Hovsco to get the exact specifications on the shock that they use. That way there's no guesswork. I can just drop in and use shocks. And when I sent them that email, they responded within 24 hours with the exact specifications and an actual diagram of what they're using on here. So made the buying decision very easy. So right now we're cruising around with 3 out of 5 battery bars remaining. As you can see, able to maintain speeds very well. Here's a little dip in the road, test out the suspension. Boom, right up and over that, no problem at all. A bike like this with a shorter wheelbase is going to be very nimble, so as you can see, we can carve around, no problem at all. Very fun bike to ride around on, I'll tell you that right now. That's why I made that decision after I racked up about 40-50 miles to go ahead and make the investment, pull out some of my own hard-earned cash and buy those shocks, because I think that's the kind of the biggest weak spot of this bike is that rear suspension. It is very firm. It makes for a more firm ride. So if you're a heavier rider, you'll definitely feel that go to work a little bit more, but if you're on the lighter side, you're not going to feel much in the way of travel with that rear shock because it's got that 1,250 pound spring. So we'll see how the 650 and the 550 do. Those are definitely going to be a big upgrade on there. And I know that this bike has got plenty of travel at the rear end, on that pivot point. It's actually pretty smooth. So we'll see how that works out. Stay tuned for that video here in the coming weeks. Another little straightaway for us here. Even at 2 or 3 out of 5 battery bars remaining, we're still able to hit, let's see, looking at GPS speed, we're still picking up speed. GPS is showing me about 26.5 miles an hour. Let's see, still picking up speed. Here we go. Do we have 26.9 miles an hour? So even though we're approaching the bottom half of this battery, we're still cruising beautifully. All right, folks, so what do I think about this Hovsco HovGTRS Moped style e-bike? Well, I'll tell you right now, I think it's a steal of a deal for the price. Definitely has really good performance. It's able to maintain speed very well. The seat on this bike is incredibly comfortable, does a really good job of absorbing a lot of the lumps and bumps in the road. If you're a shorter rider or taller rider, you can move up and down that seat to make sure that it's as comfortable as possible. Obviously, it doesn't have kind of a height adjustment or anything like that, so keep that in mind. Pedaling this bike is definitely doable. Doesn't have your typical bike geometry, so your knees are going to be coming higher up. But like I said, it's a moped style e-bike. These things are designed to be ridden more with throttle than pedaling. But if you do have to pedal, you do have a complement of 7 gears to choose from, which is very nice to see because there are a lot of moped style e-bikes out there that have a single gear. So if you run out of juice, well, have fun pedaling that bike. With this, 9-10 miles an hour, very comfortable to do. If you want to up the cadence, you can absolutely do that. Handlebars are comfortable on this bike. Gear shifting is very nice, smooth, no issues out of the box. Braking is more than sufficient. Top speed acceleration, you know, with me, 200-pound rider, I hit, you know, 27 miles an hour, which is 5 miles an hour less than they say the top speed of this bike is. They do advertise 32. That's probably going to be on a slight decline. I've seen some folks take it above and beyond 32 going downhill, which is to be expected. But for a 200-pound rider riding on flat ground, you're going to be looking about 27 miles an hour, maybe 28. And I'll tell you what, you know, for me, I think that's more than sufficient for a bike like this, especially with its smaller, shorter wheelbase. In terms of range, you're going to be getting anywhere from 20 to 25. That's what I've been averaging, right around 23 miles on a full charge. And so if you do want to get more range out of your bike, they do make a 25 amp hour battery, which will get you a significantly improved range if that's what you're looking for. But for $100,000, this thing is great to putt along the neighborhood. You can keep up with traffic on slower streets. And if you do want to ride off the beaten path, you can absolutely do that. The biggest weak point, as I mentioned earlier before, is going to be the rear suspension on this bike. It does ride stiff, but stay tuned. I will be publishing content on upgraded shocks because I think it's absolutely worth it to do on this bike, because other than that rear shock, I think this is a fantastic deal for the price. Anyways, if you do decide you want to pick up one of these bikes, I will include an affiliate link as well as a coupon code in the description below. If you use that, it absolutely helps support this channel and keeps the wheels moving on future reviews. As always, thank you so much for tuning into Tom's Gadget Garage. We'll see you next time.